So Tesla's been suing drivers who complain about their cars after having accidents in them, and they're winning in court. This is in China, mind you, and as this byline says here, Tesla owner Elon Musk is a self-described free speech absolutist, and they're suing customers. Could this be true? That's what we're going to get into today. Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome back. Let's get straight into it. Well, let's find out what's going on here. So this is happening at the same time as anti-Elon Musk protests are popping up in Tesla dealerships in the US. That was happening last weekend. I just did a video about that. Meanwhile, in China, Zhang Yazhou was sitting in the passenger seat of her Tesla Model 3 when she said she heard her father's panicked voice. The brakes won't work. Approaching a red light, her father swerved around two cars before plowing into an SUV and a sedan, crashing into a large concrete barrier. Stunned, Zhang gazed at the deflating airbag in front of her. She could never have imagined what was to come. Tesla sued her for defamation for complaining publicly about the car's brakes. And get this, Tesla won that. Again, remember, this is in China, so what is going on here in China with Tesla? The Chinese court ordered Zhang to pay more than $23,000 in damages and publicly apologize to the $1.1 trillion company. And there's the car. That's the proof of what happened there to that Tesla. And they found out Zhang is not the only one to find herself in the crosshairs of Tesla, which is led by Elon Musk, of course, as if we didn't know that, among the richest men in the world, if not the richest, and a self-described free speech absolutist. So how can this be happening? How can Tesla, his company, be suing people for speaking up, complaining about cars, especially after an accident where she thinks that the brakes failed? Over the last 4 years, Tesla has sued at least 6 car owners in China who had sudden vehicle malfunctions. Quality complaints or accidents they claimed were caused by mechanical failures. The company has also sued at least 6 bloggers and 2 Chinese media outlets. So suing bloggers, social media, and media outlets. Again, Elon Musk, a free speech absolutist. His company is doing this not in the US but in China. Have you ever heard him criticize free speech in China, or the lack of free speech in China? He doesn't seem to mind it. So they sued the bloggers and Chinese media outlets who wrote critically about the company according to a review of the public court documents and Chinese media reports by the Associated Press. Tesla won all 11 cases. They won all the cases for which AP could determine the verdicts. 2 judgments, including Zhang's, are on appeal. 1 case was settled out of court. So what is going on here? How come Tesla's winning all these cases when they're suing their own customers? Now, the article says it is not common practice for automakers in China or elsewhere to sue their customers. Definitely it is not. But Tesla has pioneered an aggressive legal strategy and leveraged the patronage of powerful leaders in China's ruling Communist Party to silence critics, reap financial rewards, and limit its accountability, this article alleges here. Now, that's very different from what Elon Musk says on Twitter and in the US. This is in China. A lot of people don't really know what's going on in there in China. We don't hear much about it. And he's not critical of free speech in China. This seems like the opposite of free speech if he's suing social media people and media outlets. The AP review of Tesla's record in China comes as Musk is wielding significant influence in President Trump's new administration. Yes, indeed, there he is in the Oval Office. In fact, after a press conference not long ago, he's leading an effort to rapidly shrink the size of the federal government and oust employees deemed disloyal to the president. That's true. It seems like they're dismantling what's there, and they're going to install loyalists after that under the guise of waste and inefficiency. His actions have raised concerns that Musk is weakening the US system of checks and balances, in part to benefit Tesla and his other companies. So that's really another story. That is what's happening in the US. But this one is about what's happening in China. As I said, we don't get to know much about that, really. Tesla's record in China shows how Musk has thrived in a system in which regulators, the media, and courts which must all ultimately answer to the ruling Communist Party, are by design somewhat intertwined. Sort of implying here that working with Tesla in some way, the courts, the government, Tesla has profited from the largesse of the Chinese state, winning unprecedented regulatory benefits, below market rate loans, and large tax breaks. With a few pointed exceptions, Tesla has enjoyed largely ingratiating coverage in the Chinese press, and journalists told AP they have been instructed to avoid negative coverage of the automaker. So Elon is notoriously annoyed about the media in the US, the mainstream media, but in China, it doesn't seem to have had that problem for some reason. Now, if you're getting value out of this episode so far, I'd really appreciate it. If you remember to hit that like button to help the algorithm, to spread it to more people, it really does help. Thanks. Tesla's windfall has extended to the courts, and not just in legal actions. Tesla has brought against customers. In a review of public court documents, the Associated Press found that Tesla won nearly 90% of civil cases over safety, quality, or contract disputes brought by customers. So Tesla would kind of like this sort of record in the US, and Elon is definitely trying to get regulations changed, getting into government with Doge, in cozy with Donald Trump. But in China, it seems like an easier ride. It has been. The government gave Tesla a super status that put consumers in a very vulnerable position, said a former lawyer for American sports car company Saleen Automotive in China. Have not heard of that. That's why some customers had to resort to extreme actions. One of those desperate customers was Zhang, and here she is talking about Tesla and what happened to her on social media in China on Weibo, which is kind of like Twitter in China as I understand it. The February 2021 crash sent Zhang's mother and father, who had a concussion, to the hospital for 4 days, medical records show. Zhang, who was unharmed in the accident, as was her baby niece, wanted to understand what had happened. How could her dream car have turned into such a nightmare? Traffic police determined that the crash was her dad's fault because he hadn't maintained a safe following distance. Zhang, however, insisted that the brakes had malfunctioned, sending the car out of control. She filed a complaint with the local market regulator. Elon does not like regulation, requesting a refund and compensation. Teslas are among the most computerized cars on the market, so Zhang asked the automaker to turn over the full pre-crash data from her car, hoping it might help explain what went wrong. Tesla refused. So in good faith, she's asking for the data to find out. She was pretty sure what happened by the sound of it. Not afraid to say, hand over the data, let's see. Tesla employees were very arrogant and tough in dealing with my complaints, Zhang said in an interview. I was burning with anger, and who wouldn't be? After weeks of stewing, she draped her car with a banner proclaiming Tesla brake failure in front of the Tesla dealership. She sat on the Tesla's roof and blared her protest through the bullhorn. Tesla's Model 3 brakes failed, she said. A family of 4 almost died, she said. The next month, she parked her damaged car outside an auto show that was all to no avail. Tesla refused to turn over the full data, and mediation went nowhere. Figuring the top Tesla officials would attend an auto show in April, she and a friend who had also had a problem with her Tesla donned matching t-shirts with the phrase brakes fail. There she is at the auto show, and headed for Tesla's booth. Determined to buttonhole executives, the automaker's officials avoided them, Zhang said, and they couldn't get anyone to hear them out. Her friend, who was 6 months pregnant, started shouting, Tesla's brakes fail. Zhang clambered on top of the shiny red display model and started hollering too. Things escalated, Zhang said. You can see her there being dragged away in that photo, and then she's standing on top of the car at the auto show. Quite a scene at this point. That moment, captured on cell phone video shot by onlookers, went viral on Chinese social media. Burly security guards hauled Zhang out, and she was detained for 5 days. Some observers speculated that Zhang's protest had been orchestrated perhaps by a competitor or by the Chinese government itself to pressure Tesla to conform with Chinese regulations. Tesla alleged that Zhang hadn't acted on her own. A top executive speculated to Chinese media that she had someone behind her and said Zhang was making a fuss because she just wanted higher compensation. It was a lot to go through just for some high compensation. Zhang insisted she acted on her own, and out of anguish, outraged, she sued Tesla for defamation, arguing that the executive's comments unjustly cast her as a troublemaker to deflect attention from the company's own shortcomings. And then she found herself on the receiving end of a lawsuit filed by Tesla. Tesla said Zhang had deliberately spread false information that damaged the brand and asked for 5 million yuan. That's $684,000 in damages. Now, that's pretty amusing, saying that they damaged the brand, considering what Elon Musk has been doing lately. I've been making videos about how the brand is damaged from what he's been doing, the fascist salutes and the very right-wing politics that he's been getting involved in, very partisan politics. There's even a boycott of Tesla. So this is sort of tame compared to that. Is Tesla going to sue lots of people who are protesting? Can't do that because it's in the US, and supposedly he's a free speech absolutist. Dozens of Tesla owners had been publicly complaining about alleged brake failures, battery fires, unintended acceleration, and other defects, as well as what they claimed were misleading sales practices. Now, that's been going on in the US too, especially advertising, supposedly false advertising based around autopilot, way back to autopilot days. Elon Musk has been talking about it working next year for about 10 years now, and it hasn't got working to an unsupervised level. And so Zhang's emotional protest sparked a rare burst of criticism. Now, this is interesting because Elon's talked about doxing and how much he doesn't like that. Tesla had finally given Zhang what she'd been asking for with the data that came out, but they'd published the data publicly and included her vehicle identification number. She said she and her family started getting threatened and doxed online. Besides, she wondered how could she be sure Tesla hadn't modified and redacted the data from her car. You know, they didn't want to produce the data, then they did, and they put her information online and she got doxxed and threatened. It was less than the victory she'd hoped for, far less. Feeling besieged, she sued Tesla a second time in March 2022 for invading her privacy. And the upshot here is that she lost both cases against Tesla, and they ordered her to publicly apologize and pay the equivalent of $23,000 to cover damages and the legal costs of the world's most valuable car company. I mean, this is kind of unbelievable, isn't it? Now, an AP review of Chinese government database of court filings published online found 81 civil judgments in which car owners sued Tesla over safety and quality issues or contract disputes. Car owners won in only 9 of those cases. That's a pretty small percentage. In a statement to AP, the Shanghai High People's Court said that judgments are the result of a fair trial based on the objective facts of the case. It cannot be assumed that the party has received special protection or special treatment because of their victory, the court wrote. Interesting. But it's also alleged here that Tesla's got a lot of legal advantages in China, advantages to bully Chinese car owners and people who speak up for them. Now, Fen Shiming, an auto blogger and Tesla owner who was ordered to pay a Shanghai court last year to pay Tesla $34,200 after he wrote about Tesla's alleged brake failures. He has appealed the verdict. Tesla wants to have a chilling effect on society and terrify people so they will be scared to say anything negative about Tesla. I'll leave that article there and just say a few words about this. I mean, Elon Musk is a professed free speech absolutist, and look what's going on in China where they're suing customers, suing bloggers, suing the media about what they're saying, complaining about Tesla cars, and a lot of people have similar complaints. Are they going to start doing in the US? They're going to start suing media. Elon Musk talked about that in relation to government, and Donald Trump's talked about that too. They're going to start is suing other people too, their own customers, when they complain about what's wrong with their cars, some of the defects. Is that what's going to happen from a free speech absolutist? I don't know how he would justify something like that. Do let me know in the comments what you think about this. I'd really like to know. Do you think that this is on with Tesla to sue their own customers after they've had accidents and they're complaining about the supposed defects, and Tesla is, saying that that didn't happen, it's the owner's fault in many cases? I mean, that's up to the courts, but courts in China, they seem to be in there with courts in China and the Chinese Communist Party. So it's a different kind of system from other places around the world, but does it fit with Elon Musk's philosophy of free speech absolutism? What do you think? Let me know. Now on screen, I'm going to put a link to a related video. Do go and see that now if you want to. And also a subscribe link. Do subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content from me in the future. And if you want to support the channel more, we've now got memberships. Hit that join button to be regular supporting the channel. Thanks to everybody for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.